Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Wednesday, February the 26th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack, as always, with you on this Wednesday. A nice college basketball slate as usual. Pretty interesting matchups across the board. We'll jump right into it. As always, game-by-game previews. We'll give you games we didn't talk about that we like, and then best bets at the end of the show. We'll start in the Big Ten. We've got Michigan State and Maryland, and this is a pretty good game, actually, when you look at it. Maryland, 4-point home favorites, 150 the total in this game. You got Michigan State playing as well as anybody right now in the Big Ten Conference. Quite honestly, Maryland's playing as well as anybody as well. So it's a great matchup here between these two teams. They're both playing well right now at the moment. I think one thing we have seen from Michigan State here of late in these nice series of wins they've ripped off, to go to Illinois and win by double digits. I know Illinois is struggling lately, but to do that's impressive. To beat Purdue 75-66, even though Purdue's been struggling, that's pretty impressive still. And then to beat Michigan on the road in Ann Arbor, pretty much lead that game wire to wire like Michigan State did on Friday night. They're playing excellent right now. There's no question. And the defense has really been something that's been impressive. Holding foes to 65, 66, and 62 in their last three games. We'll see if they can go on the road, bring that D with them here to College Park and the Xfinity Center here against Maryland. Maryland, meanwhile, 8-1 straight up in their last 9 games. The only loss was a road defeat at Ohio State. They've been very good on this home floor, 16-1 this season for the Maryland Terrapins at home. Is it a potential letdown for Michigan State after beating their in-state rival, the Michigan Wolverines? Possibly. They do play Wisconsin after this. The problem I have, though, with taking Maryland and laying 4 CMAC, though, is Michigan State's owned them. Michigan State's beaten them 6 straight times. Playing as well as they are, I don't feel comfortable laying 4 with Maryland here. I know there's a lot of things that point to their favor, including the spot, strong home court. I get all that, but they've been owned by Tom Izzo. Michigan State's playing as well as anybody, especially defensively, and they're getting points. I don't think I can lay 4 here with Maryland. I actually lean to the Spartans a little bit. CMAC, what do you think here?
Yeah, I think when maybe initially this is a Maryland spot here at home, playing well, and really it's been the offense, especially lately, but it's kind of who they've played a little bit. SC, Iowa, Nebraska, Rutgers, just Ohio State, not the best teams that guard well or defend at all. But I think this game is more of a dogfight. You talked about Michigan State playing great as well. It's really their defense. They have to get the ball inside. Both these teams are pretty good in that regard because they don't shoot it great, but they're tough, in this game. Because right away I thought Maryland, I don't know about 4.5 here. I just had to pass. I think if you look at it, I think Maryland, because of the numbers, unless there's really hot shooting in this game, I think we get more of a tighter game here, lower scoring than Tolstoy.
No doubt. And like I said, with Michigan State, Richardson, Akins, Fears, they're all playing well. And then you get 18 points in the win against Michigan from a guy like Trey Holloman. That's when you know, hey, it's going to be tough to beat when you're starting to get that kind of offensive production, which has always been a little bit of the bugaboo there right now for the Spartans. But they're feeling it right now. There's no doubt. All right, Georgetown and UConn. Got UConn 14-point home favorites, 143 the total. There's a lot of love for UConn. The number's gone up. And I get it, right? They're off just a humiliation against St. John's. The second time this year they've lost to Rick Pitino. Danny Hurley has lost head-to-head in the battle with Rick Pitino, losing twice now to St. John's, including Sunday at the Garden. Bounce back spot. I get all that. Who's confident, though, in UConn laying a number like this right now? That's what I have to ask you. We're clearly seeing more and more evidence. It's not anywhere close to the same team as we saw win the championship 2 years in a row. I know they got McNeely back and he's helped, but there's what, he hasn't helped. He hasn't helped their defense. Their defense is nowhere close to the championship level UConn Huskies defense we've seen the last couple of years. I actually think the over could get there here in this game. UConn and St. John's, that game flew over the total. I was on the over with St. John's UConn Sunday afternoon. Flew over the total. Didn't even have to sweat it. They're not the same defense. They still price these UConn totals like they're elite on that end of the court. They're not right now. I think this game can go over the total. I actually lean to Georgetown. I get being scared of fading UConn in this spot, but I did grab a small piece of Georgetown. I like the total more, though. That's the preferable bet for me here over the total. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I didn't have a ton in this game. I think UConn wins, but I'm not laying more than a couple touchdowns here.
No.
14 and a half. The defense just isn't there. They're going to all of a sudden turn it on. At Georgetown, I mean, with them for getting killed, they did sneak in that second half, backdoor covered against Creighton. I mean, after that first half, they were down like 20 in that game. And with Georgetown, if they can get some easy buckets or hit some shots, they definitely are, because they just struggle. And when they've gone on this bad streak, it's just been their offense, that just hasn't been able to get it done for them. So if they can do that, yeah, they can hang within the number here.
Yeah, I think the over's even better, because I think UConn will score on Georgetown. Georgetown just gave up, 80 or whatever it was to Creighton over the weekend on the road. So I think what's
UConn's team total? Like 80?
Oh, in this game, yeah, UConn team total for this game, Georgetown, UConn, I've seen it at 78.5 right now.
Okay,
UConn team total. Yeah. We'll see if they can hit that. They might be able to, but again, their defense. You got to be able to make stops, get stops to lay 14. We'll see if they can do that here tonight. All right, Ole Miss and Auburn. This is definitely one of the better games here. We've got Auburn 13-point home favorites, 153 the total here in this game. Obviously, Auburn's had just a phenomenal season. Atop this just beast of a conference that is the SEC. They beat Georgia 82-70. But I will note the home court here, the Jungle. This team now is suddenly just 1-4 against the number in their last 5 home games. The only win and cover at home was against Oklahoma. They were 6.5-point home favorites to Tennessee. They won by 2 in overtime. They were 11-point home favorites to Florida. They lost outright. 16-point favorites to Arkansas. They only won by 7. 14.5-point favorites to Georgia. They only won that game by 12. And look, that was a battle. They had to pull away late, to get that game to double digits against Georgia in their last game. Ole Miss has faced, they've gone through the gauntlet, and they were early in the SEC season, in my opinion, with the defense they were playing, and obviously a great coach in Chris Beard. It was looking like a team that I thought would be right there with amongst the better teams in this conference, and they've kind of fallen off here suddenly with the way they've played of late. And then they're off back-to-back losses, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. So you wonder if Ole Miss can go on the road, face a team this good in Auburn. But you look at this series history. Auburn, of course, won earlier this year at Ole Miss, early in February, 92-82. I remember that game. I took Ole Miss. I really liked them in that spot as a home dog, and they were right there. And then there was some shenanigans, and there was some defensive breakdowns, and there was some technical fouls at the end of the game, and Auburn was able to kind of pull away. And now that angle's in play. I've mentioned on the show a bunch of times, got the team that lost at home to this same team in conference play, now in the rematch against the same opponent on the road as an underdog, catching points. It's been a good angle. It's been a winning angle. Hasn't won every time, but it's been a profitable angle more often than not. I'm on the Ole Miss side here, plus 13 in this game. I think they keep this one close. This is a huge game for Ole Miss because they could really use, a quality showing against a team of Auburn's caliber. Again, they're going to have to bring it defensively. They're going to also have to hit shots, which that's not been their issue. It's been defensively lately more often than not, but they're going to need Sean Padula to step up, Jalen Murray, Malik Dia. Those guys are going to have to be big for them. Dre Davis, of course. You're going to need those guys to all play well, but if they do, you give them a chance, and I think this is a spot where you're going to get Ole Miss's best effort, and their best effort might stay in this number, in my opinion, because Auburn is not a team that's been covering these big numbers as home favorites lately. C-Mac, what do you think here? Ole Miss, Auburn.
Yeah, I think do we have any injuries in this game?
Oh, this for Ole Miss, Auburn? Nothing that I see that's major at this point in time. It's looking like right now.
I just wanted to double check. I had yeah, you know what?
Mazzara. That's the key one for Auburn. It's Chad
He's
Baker.
He's gonna play though, right?
He is I think he will though. He will. I think he will, because it's sounding like he can play through it.
Yeah, so that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, he's the one that's the questionable here for Auburn.
Yeah, he only played 12 minutes last game.
Yeah.
I just think it's normally. I think there's just no way I want Old Miss here in the spot. But I think after the losses, like they got to bring it here. And Auburn they're sitting, nice and happy, feeling great. They're 25-2, made a huge number. Where they're great at home. But yeah, I don't think they really see a beat down here. The one thing
Kentucky at Rupp this weekend. That's a big game.
is Ole Miss. Yeah, I was gonna hit that, but bang, you did. Also, you know what? On this total, I lean over. This was one I was looking at a bunch. To me, like Ole Miss needs to play a little bit better defense, but it's like both these teams are so efficient offensively, and I think they can get in the 80s. But through the numbers too, they're both pretty good defensively as well. It might not show every game. Some of these games are blowouts, of course, between these two teams, especially Auburn at home. But I slightly lean over this number right around 152.
All right, staying in the SEC, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Aggies 7.5-point home favorites, 146 the total here in this game. One of my favorite. Actually, I like both of these coaches. Mark Byington in his first year at Vanderbilt's done a really remarkable job. You know how tough this conference is, and to have Vanderbilt 18-9 coming off a big home win against Ole Miss. The problem has been on the road. We've seen some ugly games, blown out at Oklahoma, blown out at Alabama, blown out at Florida, blown out at Kentucky. Their only one cover on the road was the 5-point loss at Tennessee. So it's been sketchy on the road for Vanderbilt. A&M's coming back home after 2 losses. We're on the road at Mississippi State. Home loss to Tennessee, 77-69 over the weekend. Looking to bounce back here. They have certainly done that last year. They ended up beating Vanderbilt twice. Although I will point out last year, Vanderbilt did beat them in the one and only meeting. That was in Nashville, though. See how this one plays out. It's one of these deals where I think this is a nice spot for A&M. Do you trust them laying 7.5, though? That's the question. I lean in their direction, but nothing super strong for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
That's how I felt. I was like, if I want A&M here, maybe take them first half. And if they bring it, it has to be because of their defense. I think they kind of shut down Vanderbilt, who has scores. This team.
They did okay offensively. You know what killed them? Chaz Lanier, 30 points. Who saw that coming in for Tennessee?
Yeah,
he just exploded in that game against A&M.
He was great. They kept scoring, too. Just kind of buried him. Just continued the whole game in that game. So, yeah, I like A&M here a little bit. I lean to the under. When they play their best basketball, game goes under. So especially at this number right around 145. Vandy can get, though, they could score like I just talked about. Their games have been slipped over. You like the Tennessee game that was an under. I think I was on. I have to double check. But so yeah, this is a pass for me, but Leonard.
All right, we got back to the Big East. We go next up, Villanova, Seton Hall. We've got Villanova 8.5-point road favorites, 130 the total in this game. I'll say this. Certainly Seton Hall has had some tough times, and it's been a trying season here for Holloway. And they've had some ugly games. They had that brutal losing streak January into February. But, they finally got a win, and they got a win against UConn of all teams at home in that crazy overtime win. They did turn around, and they had a letdown against Marquette. They got obliterated 80-56. But then they came back against Xavier, and although they lost by 7, they were competitive. They covered the number. 9.5-point dogs. They lost by 7. They're starting to show signs of that competitive spirit coming back, starting to play. Their offense is still very sketchy, but the defense is, coming back a little bit at least. We're not seeing these 80 points every single game now that they're giving up. And more importantly, who the hell is Villanova to be laying 8.5 on the road? They're 2-7 straight up on the road this year, the Villanova Wildcats. So just by principle of a team that's got that kind of road record, Seton Hall showing a little sign of life here, a little pulse, showing some competitiveness, competing and beating UConn at home, losing only by 7 against Xavier in their last home game. Here they are again at home as a dog. I'm taking the Pirates here. Have no faith in Villanova as a significant road favorite. None. 0. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, this is the spot you'd want to take Seton Hall is at home as a dog, and they've had some blowouts. I know Marquette, I think, blew them out at home, but they played better. He talked about the UConn win. They need to slow it down. But I was thinking they do, but this total I thought was maybe a little bit too light. And these teams, even, while they see each other throughout the years, has gone over, in a ton of these games. So I just thought, right at this number around 130, I thought it was just too low. Especially that means Seton Hall at home where they could score a little bit more. I mean, still they've struggled. They'll have those games where they score 56, 58. Where they get in the 60s, I think it could creep over. But just to lean for me. Yeah. Lean the dog, lean under. Over.
All right, next up, we go to the Big Ten for this matchup. Penn State, Indiana. We've got Indiana, 6-point home favorites, 149 the total in this game. This may surprise some because that was such a great win for Indiana. They very especially the second half. They just put the boots to Purdue on Sunday afternoon. They just steamrolled them in the second half and one going away. You got to give them credit.
Yeah.
They're still showing that, hey, we're going to play hard down the stretch. We're right on the tournament bubble. We're going to try to make a push to get into the NCAA tournament. We're not quitting on Mike Woodson, even though they've already announced he's not going to be back after this season. But I don't trust them coming off a win like that. I just don't. Indiana. And if anything here, this is the angle again. Penn State lost at home to Indiana earlier this year. Now they're in revenge on the road as an underdog getting points. And I don't trust when's Indiana played 2 good games in a row? Go down their schedule and their games this year and see when they've played. It's been very rare that Indiana played 2 terrific games back and forth. Now, again, dealing with the bigs is a problem. Ballo and company. That's good, and that's still Purdue's kryptonite. They cannot deal with size and length in the paint, and it killed them against Indiana on Sunday. Penn State's got some of those issues too, but I don't trust Indiana off that kind of win in a rivalry game to come back and play well again. And Penn State, look, we buried Penn State, and now all of a sudden, here's Penn State. The last couple of games they've been competitive. They've been showing signs of life again, and starting to play a little bit better. We wrote them off. They're not going to be a tournament team unless they go on some kind of crazy run. But, home win against Nebraska. They go on the road as a dog, and they beat Minnesota in their last game, 69-60. The loss to Washington was only by 2 points. They've been competitive 3 games in a row. So I'm taking the points here, C-Mac. Give me Penn State. What do you think here?
I think that's it or nothing. Especially after seeing that just their unbelievable second half, which is like the best I'd seen. It's about the best half of basketball that they've played all year long. I don't think you see it again. Even Penn State, that last one against Minnesota, the defense is a little bit better. These back-to-back wins, they didn't shoot the 3 great, but they got to the free throw line. Like, if they could do that here, Baldwin was good. Like, he went 8 for 8. Now he's gets 100% again. But if they could get to the free throw line in this game, I think they can hang around too. You talked about they already had lost to them. There's just no way lay with Indiana even at home. I agree.
All right, Utah, Arizona, as we head to the Big 12. Arizona, 14-point home favorites. The total in this one in the 150, looks like 155 range in this one. Who knows what we're going to get out of Utah? They fired Craig Smith. They're going to have an interim the rest of the year. How's that going to play out? How the kid's going to react to it? It's Utah on the road. It's very difficult to trust them. And more importantly, it's Arizona, in this spot, coming off that loss to BYU with controversy. That was a bad call that kind of went against them late in that game against the Cougars, losing 96-95. Looking to bounce back here at home. Certainly capable of destroying this Utah team if they're focused and ready to go. They beat Utah 92-73 last year by 19 points. It's probably lay it or don't play it for me. It's just a question of, do you want to lay this many points? I'd probably lean over too, because usually when Arizona covers and wins big, it's by piling on the points. It's not like Utah's defense is trustworthy. C-Mac, what do you think here?
This is a ton of points, but I can't take Utah here. I just can't do it. They played better on the road. They could cover here. I just don't buy it. They have the intern coach here. They're playing some decent basketball too. A couple of home wins against K-State and Kansas. I don't know. This is especially Arizona after not playing great. Game flew over BYU, getting the revenge there. Bavano covered and a horrible call, at the end of the fucking game.
Terrible.
Yeah,
It's
just
brutal to
bad.
see a game end like that. Terrible.
Yeah,
Game
game like that, just a tiny bump to call that. It was awful.
Yeah.
So Arizona, I think if you look at them, look at their team total, or even first half, I think is a move here a little bit with Arizona.
All right, we continue along here. Back to the SEC we go. Kentucky, Oklahoma. Kentucky, 3-point road favorites, 163.5 the total. Porter Moser's team cannot assume anything. Okay, this team is not a slam dunk tournament team. I know they had some decent showings in the non-con, but they've had more than enough brutal loss, and I know this is a fucking meat grinder, the SEC. It's never an easy game every night, but you can't have the amount of bad losses that Oklahoma's had, blowout losses, and not expect to be pushed closer to the bubble. So they need to make the most of these kind of opportunities here. They missed one against Florida. They got completely destroyed. But the win against Mississippi State, 93-87 at home over the weekend, kind of got, Oklahoma back on a footing where, if they could win a game like this, beat Kentucky at home, maybe win at Ole Miss, beat Missouri at home. There's some games on the schedule coming up for Oklahoma where if they win it, they're going to be in a much better position to be in the NCAA tournament. So this is a big stretch for the Sooners here. Meanwhile, Kentucky coming off of the 96-83 loss at Alabama. So you got Kentucky off a loss, looking to bounce back. The last time they lost on the road, they bounced back and they thumped Vanderbilt at home. But now they go on the road to going on the road again against a team that's 11-4 at home. Kentucky's still just 2-6 straight up on the road and laying points on the road. That's not the profile of a team I want to lay points with on the road. I actually think Oklahoma could get them here. I like their game a lot better against Mississippi State, and I certainly prefer Oklahoma plus the 3 rather than taking and laying Kentucky with 2 road wins on the year. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, there's good news. I mean, it looks like Robinson, Butler are both going to play here for Kentucky.
Yeah.
After that, the loss that they just had.
But you know what?
Look at this.
Sometimes to bring those guys back, that first game, it throws everything out of sync.
Oh yeah.
You get the players back. Let's bet on them. Doesn't always work that way.
Happens all the time. And having them out, then they step up. It's time and time again. So when you look at that, just all part of the handicap that you go through these games.
Yep.
Especially every day. I think this game goes over. I just think there's Oklahoma. That's been their problem. Is just the defense has gone just AWOL. Where are you? Nowhere to be found. That's why they've just been awful after they started 16-0.
Yep.
And had some really quality wins. It's gone to shit. I know they just beat Mississippi State, which is a good sign. Fears. They have some guys that can score, and they should have some success here against Kentucky. I like them too, and I haven't wanted to back this Oklahoma team really at all. Early in the year, I did a ton. Once they started losing, I lost there, but once or twice on them. I've stayed off, but this seems like a decent spot for them. A huge game, Kentucky in town, and I think there's points. So lean over.
All right, good stuff there. All right, next up here, we've got Texas and Arkansas. It looks like we've got, Texas and Arkansas. Arkansas, 2.5-point home favorites, 163.5 the total in this game. I think this is the angle, too, because I believe Arkansas won at Texas. And now here's Texas in revenge, getting points on the road. I don't know if I want to take Texas. The angle says to take them, but they're not a team I really love backing or trusting. And this is I've not been impressed. When I watch Texas, I don't come away thinking they do anything all that well. They don't do anything well. They don't do everything poorly, but they don't do anything well. Texas, when I watch them, that continues to be a bit of an issue for me with this group. Arkansas has been better. They've been a covering machine lately. 6-1 ATS their last 7. Again, the angle says to take Texas here because Arkansas won at Texas 78-70 earlier this month. The angle says take Texas in the revenge spot on the road as a dog, but I don't love this one as much. I'm probably going to stay off this one. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, and if you like Texas here, the value is just gone.
Plus, it was 5 at one point.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean,
Texas. Yep.
it's tough to just take them here at 2.5. It is a revenge, but I think this game's tight. You know what I go to, even though their last game, but it was against Missouri. You got to look at the team. I was looking at this one a lot, but man, it was the under. Arkansas just has been a team that scored a ton of points. Before that, I think they had 4 or 5 straight unders. And, since they lost Fland and a few other guys, some of their scoring had to change things up. They've just become a lot slower team here, and the defense has been better. So I think the game is tight, and I lean under. I know Texas, though, it's kind of been a more of an over team all year. They just have a 15-11 to the over. A lot of their games have been in the 70s, even the 80s. So just a lean for me here, under 147, 146.5.
All right, back to the Big East. St. John's. Wow, this team is just a machine right now. Now they're heading to Hinkle to take on Butler. St. John's 6-point road favorites, 151 the total in this game. They have been great. There is no doubt. They're playing amazing defense. And when they make shots like they did against UConn, gosh, they can win a national championship. They play like that. When they're shooting and making threes like that, that's been the bugaboo for Rick Pitino's, Uncle Ricky's team all year. But when they're making their jump shots, they're one of the best rebounding teams in the country. They play tenacious defense. They guard every single possession. That's a team. And I have 40-1 CMAC bet months ago.
Really?
John's. Yep. To win the national championship.
Tell me you have do you have a Final Four?
No, I just went with national championship, believe it or not.
I try to do that more because a little bit lately when I give out a future like that, just because there's only one team, it's so difficult. Like, I mean, I hope like in the end you cash, but maybe back it up going forward with other people, like do a Final Four to make it, because that I think could really, really happen. And the odds are really, really good too. Back then, I'm sure it was crazy. If that was 40, I mean, that'd be 25-1, maybe. I don't know, 20-1. So I kind of look at that. I tell people going forward.
Yep. When you defend like that, you're always going to have a chance, obviously, to make a run because defense travels with you. And if you can defend like that, you're going to be a tough team to beat in the NCAA tournament. Butler, though, is starting to play good. 4 of their last 5 they've won. Now they've beaten some also-rans, right? Providence, Seton Hall, Georgetown, DePaul. It's not like they've beaten anyone great, but they lost to Xavier on the road by double digits. But at home, we've seen this team be able to compete. Still a 9-6 home record. And if you listened, anybody heard after the win against UConn, Rick Pitino speak, he kept going on and on about how these guys are playing through all kinds of pain and injuries and shouldn't be playing, like Kadari Richmond. And there's so many players. Richmond was the big one, but he mentioned a couple of his guys that even Zuby Ojafor, he's banged up. That Kadari Richmond probably shouldn't have even played on Sunday against UConn, that he's gutting through it at way less than 100%, hinting that he said, I may need to give some of these guys a night off soon, and could soon be tonight. Factor that in, plus how big a win that was for UConn. It now gives them a little bit of breathing room where even if they, let's say, lost tonight to Butler, they'd still be absolutely in the driver's seat to win the Big East regular season championship. I think this is one of those spots where, you got them off the big win. Pitino's complaining about how his guys are hurt. They're banged up. They need time off. I think Butler could be live tonight, quite honestly. I think taking the points is the way to go here. Butler is a home dog in this spot. C-Mac, what do you think?
They shot the ball a lot better lately. Still not great defensively is Butler. That's one thing to look at down the line that you touched on, Bavano, is just the St. John's, if they're just not deep. They're just, they have a couple guys that come off the bench, and that's it.
Which is why
that could work in college basketball.
Good thing for Pitino to do that.
And this first matchup, this was the game St. John's went 1 for like 21 from 3, and still defense just all over. And I think they won by 7 in that first matchup. And it was some of the worst shooting, but they're just were so good. Butler couldn't get anything either. 70-62, yeah, January 4th. So I like Butler here too a little bit at home. I think the one thing with St. John's though, going against them, they've been defense travels like you talked about. They've been 6-2 on the road. So great game.
I probably wouldn't have bet Butler if I didn't hear Patino say that after the game. But that to me was whoa. He's talking about getting these guys some time off. They need a blow. They're banged up. They're hurting right now. They're playing through pain because that was such a fucking big game for them, hosting the two-time champions at the Garden on Sunday. So I wonder who's going to be in, and if they're all playing, including Kadari Richmond, how much gas is in the tank? If you're hearing Patino say they're less than 100%, they're playing through injury. So that's got to concern you right now about laying it with St. John's in this spot, even though they're good enough. If they play well and they got through it again and play well, they can cover. But didn't like what I heard from Patino about the injury scenario there. All right, Ohio State and USC. USC, 1-point home dog, 149.5 the total in this game. Kind of looks like USC at home's tantalizing in this spot, but Ohio State, they can't afford many more slip-ups. Diebler got this team back on the bubble, and they've had a little bit of a hiccup here now. 3 straight losses. Michigan, Northwestern, they lose to UCLA to begin this swing in Los Angeles. Now they got to take on USC. And USC's coming back off the East Coast, Maryland and Rutgers, back-to-back road games. So it's actually a better spot, situational travel-wise, believe it or not, for the Buckeyes, because they've been in LA now for a few days after losing to UCLA Sunday afternoon in that game that was televised on CBS, had that game Sunday afternoon. They lost at UCLA. I kind of think Ohio State could still be the better team. Maybe we take them here. I lean that way to the Buckeyes. I don't love it, but I lean that way a little bit here to the Buckeyes. One thing I know about USC, though, I've been riding this team hard over the total. These USC games just keep on going over the total. I'm a little bit now. I know Ohio State's had some rough shooting games, UCLA, Northwestern, but this total's fallen far enough now, 149.5, where I don't agree with it. I would look the other way on it. C-Mac, what do you think?
I agree. I got a 140. Was here for a while. 149. Sorry. I think it's too low because I think they have a better. One thing, SC, they just don't defend well enough. And like Ohio State, they've just come off those, UCLA playing when they're at their tops, defense, and we saw it in that game. And then they were off the dreadful 49-point performance. I think this is more like the teams that's like SC, Bavano, Michigan, Washington. We get that here tonight where there'll be easier buckets and same for SC. But Ohio State, all year, your team, let's just go back the last 5 years, they kind of trend more over, not the best defensive team, but they've gone just a little bit more under this year, 13-15, nothing crazy, but they've had bad shooting nights. I think they've had, but I'm agree. I just think that was too low, this move.
All right, both making a case for the over here in this one. All right, another nice. We've had a lot of good Mountain West games in the late night hours lately. This is another one. Utah State, Boise State. Boise State 3.5 4-point home favorites. 148.5 being the total here in this game. It's actually moved to 4 pretty much across the board. I mean, Utah State continues to be, pretty impressive what we continue to see from this group on a regular basis. They enter this game on a 5-1 run in their last 6. Credit to them beating San Diego State at home 79-71, sweeping San Diego State this year at home. Very impressive stuff from the Aggies. Can they sweep Boise State as well? Because they beat Boise 81-79 earlier this year on their home court. So it's Boise revenge at home. Last time we saw Boise at home, one of their best games of the year, I thought, 86-78 over New Mexico, the Lobos. They were in control and led most of that game. What a huge game it was for Tyson Dagenhart. I mean, when that guy shoots like that for Boise, obviously they become a different animal. He was outstanding, 32 points. They got 3 players, double figures, Alvaro, Cardenas, Pearson Carmichael. When they get those 3 guys going, they can be difficult to handle. Utah State defensively is always a little bit of their bugaboo. They're a great free throw shooting team, Utah State. That's always why I fear betting against them. They hit their free throws. They make their free throws. Boise, I remember the last time they were in revenge mode against a team as good or better than Utah State against New Mexico. They played a great game, and maybe they do it again tonight. So tough game. I don't love fading Utah State, especially getting 4, but Boise answered the bell the last time they faced a good Mountain West team at home, beating the Lobos. They could do it again here. We'll see if they can. What do you think here, C-Mac? Utah State, Boise State.
I mean, this is a path. Both these teams are playing well.
Yep.
You know, Utah State got it done against San Diego State. They were trying to hang around in that game, pulled away.
Boise probably
Both
does
these
need
teams.
to win more because I think from a resume standpoint, they have work to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
This has been a tough matchup, though, for them, even the last couple of years. One thing with Utah State that's been consistent, too, last couple of years, this team's been a good road team.
Yep.
Like, they have not kind of really gone on the road and got blown out at all. You mentioned both these teams get to the free throw line. Boise State even better this year. So that could come down the stretch here late. This should be a good game. Yeah, you mentioned the New Mexico State. Then they grit out the 1-point win against Nevada. I kind of lean Utah State as much. And Boise, I really want to take it home. So the kind of to me, this is stay off. You know, maybe look at this game live later tonight. I bet it.
All right, final game, SMU and California out on the West Coast in Berkeley. We've got SMU 3.5-point road favorites and the total 153.5 here in this game. I cashed a ticket, an ugly one with Cal, but they did barely stay inside the number against Stanford last weekend, and so we'll take it. Do I want to come back to them here? Because I don't know about that. SMU's playing really good. I guess the only concern I would have with SMU is all the way out to the West Coast, one of their longest trips this year. But you can't doubt this team on the road. They beat the shit out of Miami. They won and covered at NC State. They won and covered at Virginia Tech. They beat the living snot out of Notre Dame in their last road game, 97-73. So it's been one win and one cover in a row for SMU on the road lately. They're the better of these two teams for sure. Line looks surprisingly cheap. It's SMU or pass for me. I probably will pass, though. This line looks oddly too cheap for SMU. And again, this is a long trip for them for the first time in a while, all the way out to the West Coast. But to me, I don't know if I trust California to hang with them. They're playing really good basketball, SMU, at the moment. And another thing, too, is SMU's coming off the home loss to Clemson. There may be focus here for SMU going on the road here for this bounce-back spot. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I think that might happen. You know, how much Cal, this team, they're just not very good. I mean, they are 10-5 at home. But SMU is off that loss where should pull up. And shout out to Clemson. Shot the ball well. The game got over, too. I had the over in that game. Snuck over there. We'll see. Cal's, you know, as much as they kind of want to push it, they've stayed under. Seems like a lot more, especially as of late. And it's the offense. It just hasn't been there. Can they score here against this SMU team? This one should be good. I mean, I kind of lean Cal here, home dog, plus 3.5.
All right, good stuff. There you have it. There's your Wednesday slate. C-Mac, we'll go right back to you. Games we have not talked about that you're liking for tonight.
I don't have a ton here. I like Bellarmine a little bit. Those a lean for me.
I do too.
There.
Red hot point spread team. Red hot after a bad start. These are the teams you like
bad.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit live catching those points. That was about it. We hit everything. I'll hit my best bet here in a minute.
All right, good stuff. I'll rip through a lot of what I like. Mercer is in the angle. Home loss. Now the road dog in the rematch against East Tennessee State. So I took a small shot with Mercer there against East Tennessee State. That game's just about to start, actually. Over for South Florida Temple. First game went over. I don't know if anything. Temple's been an over machine. We've talked about these Temple overs every single show. I think it's worth a look again. I think LaSalle is a home dog. Look, Fran Dunphy farewell tour. The guy is retiring after this season. Everyone says great things about Fran Dunphy, so I think you get LaSalle playing hard on the way out. And who the hell's Duquesne to be trusted as a road favorite? They are such an erratic team. Not that LaSalle is great, but I think LaSalle +2, I'm interested at home dog against Duquesne there. UIC is in the angle against Northern Iowa, as well, catching points there against them. What else do we have? St. Joe's and Bonnie over. I agree with the total. I thought 135 was a little bit low there. It's gone up. Citadel, believe it or not, against Furman. Citadel's in the angle. Citadel actually took Furman to overtime earlier this season. So Citadel, I think, of getting too many points there against Furman. Charlotte, Charlotte's starting to play some better basketball. Tulane's kind of gone the other way. Tulane won at Charlotte. Now Charlotte's in revenge at Tulane, getting points. That angle's been good, so I like Charlotte there. Lean over as well. How many times are we here with Memphis? I know Memphis did look very good against Florida Atlantic on Sunday. Credit to them. They beat the hell out of Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's not the same team, though, this year. But now you're back home, a little bit of a sleepy spot. And Rice almost beat Memphis at home earlier this year. And now they got him on the road. This is another one where the angle's in play. Home loss earlier in the year. Now getting points on the road. Rice, I'm taking Rice here. I'm always interested fading Memphis as a big home favorite. Rice, and they've been playing a little bit better, plus the 12.5 against Memphis. I think that's worth a look. Evansville, I think, +9 worth a look. Evansville's been a point spread darling for me of late. Over with Belmont again. Not that shouldn't be shocking to anybody, but these Belmont overs have been great. Belmont, Missouri State, I think, goes over. Missouri State's been a good point. I wish I was a few more points, but I do still lean to Missouri State +2. Slight home dog there against Belmont as well. Loyola Chicago just continues to roll at home. I see no reason not to lay 4.5 with Loyola Chicago there against George Washington. What else have we got here? How about a big ugly dog? Louisiana, Ragin' Cajuns suddenly have been a pretty good point spread team. Arkansas State's a damn good basketball.
Well, that's my bet at the end.
So. But
bucket.
Louisiana, I think we just gave away C-Mac's best bet, but a lot of points there. Let's just put it that way with the Cajuns who've been rolling right now, point spread wise. Valpo in the over with Bradley, I like, and I think that's it. That pretty much. How about on the added board? There's a couple there. Over with Colgate. Colgate's over the total every game lately. So Holy Cross Colgate, I think, goes over the total there in that one. Central Arkansas Lipscomb might be a good over. You mentioned Bellarmine, I like. Queens, North Alabama over. North Alabama laying the points might be worth a lot. And I like Stetson. I'm a Stetson man. You know that old cologne they always advertised? I'm a Stetson man. Yeah, Stetson. I am a Stetson man tonight, plus the points against Jacksonville. Jacksonville escaped with their life against Eastern Kentucky. If Eastern Kentucky doesn't miss free throws, they beat Jacksonville the other night.
That's a ton of points. Stetson's kind of let me down. They've covered for me too, but that's 14.
I think tonight's the night to jump on those Hatters of Stetson, the Stetson Hatters here tonight, getting that many points there against Jacksonville. So there you have it. That's everything. Best bet, C-Mac. I think we already know what it is, but tell everyone again what it is. Best bet.
Let's give this out here. Just playing better basketball as of late. I think they've won 4 in a row. I didn't know they won outright the other day, but they got their ass kicked. Arkansas State's a better basketball team. They lost by 20 there. Now they're at home. I think they remember that. And, hey, they just need to cover. +12, Louisiana, Ragin' Cajuns tonight. I'll put it out.
Going with a big dog. Yep, C-Mac going with a big dog. The Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, best number available right now. Plus, it looks
should
like
be 12.
12.
So.
Yep, +12 against Arkansas State for a best bet. And I'm going with a big dog. I took this team as a big road dog. Best bet on this show early in the season, earlier in SEC play. They were at Alabama. They won that damn game outright. And then kind of the wheels fell off them after that win. They weren't the same. But they've played a little bit better lately. It's a huge game for them. And I'm not suddenly scared anymore to go against this team at home because they've 1-4 ATS, their last 5 at home as a favorite in the jungle for the Auburn Tigers. I like Ole Miss to give them a game tonight. Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss +13 against Auburn. I think they hang inside that number. We'll go with that for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Timothy Hake, GNL Photo, The King's Back, Oldie, Justin McKelvey, Ryan C., Canes Nation, Spoons Bets, Morgan Spooner, good to see you. Does a great job handicapping college ball. Daryl Benton, Redbeard, Thomas Maggio, appreciate all of you guys. Nick Alvento, appreciate Rick J., everyone in the chat. Daryl Turner, appreciate it. Hit the like button. on the way out. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we'll see you Friday. Weekend preview, Friday and Saturday preview in college basketball on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We expand to 5 days a week, Monday to Friday next week. We're looking forward to that as well. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you Friday for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.